Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Gasita, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
Well, I'm excited to have on the show today Alex Obregon. Alex has been a good friend of mine for a while now. We met at the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, but he is probably one of the best character person that I have met, with great integrity. Used to be assistant controller, deputy controller for the city of Houston, fourth largest city in the nation. Was the treasurer of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So, Alex, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Ronald. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. By the way, you look like you have lost weight.
I have.
Yeah. Why are you making people like me? I mean, you were never fat, so you didn't have to lose weight, but you continue to make people like me look bad.
Well, I didn't mean to, but I've got 2 young kids, so I want to make sure I'm healthy for them. And at some point, I did put on a little bit of weight, and I thought, when I saw the numbers come back from my physical, I was like, maybe I should start.
I know, but I still see the numbers come back, and I'm like, it'll be okay. Wow. I can hang in there.
Just pray it away.
I can hang in there. They're still in the green or yellow area.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was in the yellow, but it was trending in a not great direction. So I used to be a runner, so I started running again and started making better food decisions. Maybe not today, but
all right. So let's start with the fun stuff.
Sure.
This could be a car you own or a car that you wish you owned, your dream car. But what is Alex's dream car?
Yeah, I'd have to say a Corvette. So I've got a dad car right now. I've got a Lexus RX 350, so it's got all kinds of junk in the back of it. God knows what's underneath the seats and the cushions, but I'd love a Corvette.
Corvette.
Any
particular one, newer, older model? Do you like the classic Stingray, or do you like the new?
I like the newer ones. My wife likes the classic Stingray. She's actually more into cars than I am, but I've always looked at Corvettes and I'm like, dang, that's a really, really nice car.
It is.
And I'd love to have one. So maybe one of these days I'll get my Corvette.
All right, good. Okay, travel. Give me your favorite place that you've gone to, anywhere in the world, your favorite place you've gone to, and what's on the bucket list?
Yeah, good question. I would say the Amalfi Coast. The Amalfi Coast, prior to my wife and I having kids, we had a list of things that we wanted to do, places to go. On that list was basically doing a 2-week, let's go to Italy and start from top to bottom. And when we got to the Amalfi Coast, got to see Capri, it was one of the most just captivating places I've ever seen.
Capri's beautiful.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
It's picturesque.
Yeah, it really is. So the city of Amalfi was probably my favorite destination. I'd love to go back. I'd love to spend more time in Capri because we only did a day there. But I was just totally, Italy just in general was
most people that you interview, if you hear this interview, most people will say Italy.
Yeah, it's tough to compete with.
It's the culture, the people, the food, the place, history. It's incredible. You know that whole thing about Rome? Have you heard of that whole thing about men think about Rome?
No.
You ever heard that?
No.
So there's this whole, I don't know if it's a TikTok thing or a Twitter thing, but that they say that men think about the Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I started watching the Roman Empire on Netflix, and my wife was like, what are you watching? I'm like, this is awesome. I'm watching this right now.
It's like something attracts us to the Roman Empire. Okay, what's on your bucket list?
I got to mention one more place that I've been to fairly recently. I went to Israel before all the chaos that's erupted, and that was a tremendous. It was a spiritual experience, but it was also just an amazing experience to get to meet the Israeli people and just the beauty of that country. So that was one that, it would be on my bucket list. Have I not already done it? But if you talk about favorite places, like the Israel experience,
I was there January of 2020.
Yeah.
Or February 2020. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The people and the mix of the history, especially, Christian and, it's just the history and then the modernization.
Yeah.
All combined together.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I agree with you. That's probably one of my favorite places too. My favorite place is Venice, and Israel would be up there as well.
Okay, there you go.
All right, bucket list.
I would have to say New Zealand, Australia. Would love to go. My wife has been. It's on the list at some point in time. So
which one does she like better, New Zealand or Australia?
I think she'd probably say New Zealand.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I've been to New Zealand. We have great business there. Been twice.
Yeah.
It's far.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't far, I'd be there all the time.
Yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful place. And the people are incredible.
Yeah.
I love New Zealand. It's just so far.
Yeah. It's not easy to get to.
No.
Yeah.
But go because it's beautiful. It's a long trip to take kids. So
Yeah. I'll wait till my kids are a little bit older because I'd love for them to experience that. But my wife and I sorry.
No, go ahead.
My wife and I are going to Paris next month. So
Just you guys?
yeah, this is the first time away from kids. It's just the two of us.
Have you been to Paris before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So Paris is great. You do the steak fondue? Have you
will.
done that? Do the steak fondue with
Done
french
it.
fries.
Okay, I'll do it there. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. What's your favorite food?
That's tough, Arnold. I mean, I'm a foodie. You probably get that a lot when you have these conversations, but it depends on what mood I'm in. Love French food, love Italian food, love steak and potatoes. So I could make a really, really good filet, a really, really
But
good
if you had to
ribeye,
pick one,
cheeseburger and French fries.
really?
Yeah, I mean, like if I was at
Now
my
you
last
sound like
meal,
Joe Garza.
yeah, he knows food. Yeah, I'd have to say if I had, this is the last thing you're going to eat, cheeseburger and French fries.
I like it. Mine is Tex-Mex. I mean, I love fajitas.
Yeah,
I could eat fajitas every day.
Yeah,
I like the steak. I mean, I like a good steak and I like everything else, but I don't know. I could do, and I'm Cuban, but I could do Tex-Mex all day long, every day.
It's got all the elements of healthy food. It's got your dairy.
I don't know about
it's got
healthy
your
food,
meat,
but it's definitely
well, the elements are there.
All the elements of food for
the
sure.
elements are there.
All right, where were you born?
I was born in Baytown, Texas. And then almost as soon as I was born, moved to Mexico and lived there for the first 5 years of my life.
So you actually lived in Mexico? I guess I never realized that
Yeah.
on you. So you lived in Mexico City?
Yeah, because my mom split her time when I was very little between Mexico City and Zihuatanejo. So she had an import-export business in Mexico City and ran a beach club in Zihuatanejo.
No kidding.
Yeah,
So up until you're 5,
Yeah.
you're in Mexico.
that's right.
Then where?
Then
Houston?
my grandmother gets sick with cancer. She was given like a 2-year prognosis. Mom left Mexico, came back to the United States to take care of her. Grandmother ended up living 7 years, and then my mom started her second career, started teaching. So she lost her business in Mexico during that time, and then basically, became a Houstonian again, took care of her mom, my grandmother, and started her second career teaching.
So you came back when you were 5.
Yeah,
Always been here since then?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you go through high school, grammar school. What high school did you go to?
I went to Crosby High School. Proud product of Crosby High School. Yeah, yeah.
That's a first.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of people that graduated from Crosby, but
It's,
that's a first on the interview.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to Crosby. Then what did you want to go to college, right?
Yeah, I knew, I obviously know a lot more now than I knew then, right? I didn't even study for the ACT and SAT. I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I needed to go to college, so showed up one morning and took the ACTs and had to take them again as a result of that. But got into University of Houston and started my undergrad here in Houston.
And what did you study?
Psychology.
Psychology. That's another new on me.
Yeah.
Like I would have guessed all this time it was business or accounting.
No. At one point in time, I wanted to be a psychologist, and that's what I set out to do.
That must have worked out well for the city of Houston.
I think the psychology degree served me well in many respects. Certainly my time in government at the city, it helped out a little.
So you got a bachelor's degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And then have you done any more after that?
Yeah. I have an MBA, master's with a focus in finance. So
Okay.
I figured out I like the numbers thing, I like the economics thing. So I decided.
So where did that stretch? As you start college,
Yeah.
and you're focusing on psychology, where did that change?
Yeah, no, great question. So it happened pretty organically. So I move on campus, and I wanted to get involved in some sort of campus activity, want to get involved in something, and ended up being really intrigued by student government. Just the whole process. I had done Boys State when I was in high school, which is kind of an immersive week-long experience where you simulate a state government. We did it at the campus of University of Texas. And I didn't realize how much that had an impact on me until much later in life. When I look back, I was like, why did I have any sort of interest in government? And I think it really spurred there because of this experience in high school. So get on campus, get involved in Student Government Association, And there's this program at the University of Houston. It's now the Hobby School of Public Affairs, but at the time it was the Center for Public Policy. They have an internship program. That internship program places students into government internships. So I did the government internship and got placed with a city council member that happened to be the chairman of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee. And his chief of staff happened to be a finance wizard. He was a former trader in Dallas and really came from the private sector, had a strong financial acumen. So I was the new intern making coffee. But I was consistent about making the coffee. And it tasted so bad that everybody knew I made the coffee because they're like, well, obviously Alex made it.
Alex's coffee.
Yeah, this is Alex's coffee. So I did that internship. And at the end of it, they asked me if I would stay on part-time. So I stayed involved in student government. I was the elected speaker of the Student Body Senate at U of H. And then also did 10 hours a week at City Hall interning. And that exposure to those.
So you were doing that while you were going to college?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then realized that I liked numbers, I liked economics. I became a loan officer. So I was my first, real job was loan officer right before
At a mortgage company?
Yeah, at a mortgage company, EquiCap Mortgage, off of Westheimer, right before the subprime lending crisis, where if you had a pulse, you got a loan.
That's right.
So I did
the whole Washington Mutual thing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I was 19 years old. I was a loan officer, and worked my way through college, got some Pell Grants, took out.
So that was your real job during college?
I had several real jobs during college, but my real job, yes, was being a loan officer. I actually got paid by being the speaker of the Student Body Senate. I got a small stipend and got an office, and then did the internship.
So that gave you the bug?
That gave me the bug. I was fascinated by...
What was your first job? Whenever, 13, 14, 16, what was your first job?
Mowing lawns. Yeah, mowing neighborhood lawns. Yeah.
And then when you graduated from college, what was your first job?
So at the time that I graduated, this was post subprime lending crisis. The housing market was not very good. There were no jobs. Right? So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I toyed with the idea.
You got the bug of accounting. You had a loan officer as your first kind of real job.
Yeah, but that was no longer a job after.
Right. Yeah. And you got a psychology degree.
Yeah.
So now you're graduating. You got to try to figure this thing out.
Yeah, that's right. I applied for God knows how many jobs, probably 100 jobs. The job market was just really, really tough. And there wasn't any room in the city council budget to bring me on full time. So I knew that. Ended up taking a job working for Harris County as a pretrial service officer. So literally going into courts, accessing defendants that had just been charged with crimes from DWI up to murder, excluding capital murder. I did that in some ways because I needed the job, right? So there weren't many opportunities. So I took that job, and I thought that this may be a great precursor to going to law school. Because I was the lowest man on the totem pole in that role, I didn't start my shift until 2 o'clock. So I worked from 2 to 11, Wednesday through Sunday. And because I enjoyed my experience at City Hall so much, I went to the chief of staff and I go, hey, look, I know you can't pay me, but can I continue to volunteer? And they're like, yeah, sure. So between 9 a.m. and before I started at the county, I would continue to work in this council member's office, who was the chair of Budget and Fiscal Affairs, and did that up until the time that he decided that he was going to run for city controller. So he was going to run to be the elected CFO of the city of Houston. He runs, he wins. And of course, I now see an opportunity. I'm like, well, maybe I could join his administration. So went and had a conversation with the chief of staff, and he's like, actually, I want to talk to you as well. He goes, we want you to join the administration. So I said, well, great. That's what I actually came to talk to you about.
Funny you should say.
Funny you should say that. It was got a little bit of an increase in pay. I wasn't making very much at the county, but joined City Hall as the kind of right-hand person to the deputy city controller in 2009. And that's how I found my way into the controller's office at City Hall.
So what was your first position with them?
I think I was an administrative specialist. I was basically the right-hand guy, whatever they needed. I'd raise my hand for any opportunity. If it was research, if it was going to community meetings, if it was taking notes, it didn't matter. I was up for the task.
And how long before you grew to be deputy controller?
Yeah, so that was a little bit of an evolution. So I did that for 5 years. And at that time, I realized that I didn't want to be an attorney. I didn't want to go to law school. I really liked the financial elements of what we were doing. And the interesting thing about being in an office like that, in the fourth largest city, is that you get exposed to all different types of industry, right? There's this like beautiful intersection of commerce and private sector and government when you're at that level of a city government. So I got to see all these different elements of the economy, and we were coming off the heels of the Great Recession, so there was a rebound that needed to occur. We finally saw unemployment start to come, so I got to see all this kind of happen in real time, right? And I made the decision that I wanted to go get a business degree. So I started taking night classes at U of H. I went to Bauer College of Business and got my MBA. So I realized at that time that I really wanted to go focus in on finance. I didn't have the formal finance background, although I was in a finance office and a finance role. So I went and got my MBA. So this is what I want to do.
And so did you get your MBA before you became deputy?
Yeah, I did. So got my MBA and then realized that I want to go to the private sector and go make some money. And so I left City Hall in 2015 to go work for Deloitte, one of the largest professional accounting firms in the world. And I was in their valuation practice, so doing kind of pre and post M&A work here in Houston.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for about 2 years. Got to see my second boom bust cycle with the price of oil. In 2014, the price of crude was $100 a barrel. 2 years later, it was $20 a barrel.
Right.
All the consultants were making money. It was a fascinating time to be in consulting. Had really, really great clients and got exposed to a lot of different things. But it goes back to relationships, Arnold, and I know you know this, but the chief of staff that I ended up having a really good rapport with, that became the deputy controller that I worked for, his name is Chris Brown. Mm-hmm. He just left office because he became the elected city controller in 2015. And the night that he won the runoff, he goes, "What are you doing tomorrow, Alex? Let's grab coffee." And that next morning, he goes, "I want you to come back to City Hall and rejoin the controller's office. We've got a lot of financial challenges that I think we could make some headway on." And that to me, Arnold, was like, it was intriguing because I spent 5 years in that office, was aware of some of the city's financial challenges.
So was he offering you that deputy position then?
He offered me a deputy director role. And then a year later, I became the deputy city controller and chief operating officer for the office.
So he was the chief of staff.
Yeah, he was the chief of staff.
And then won the controller.
Yeah.
And they called you to have coffee.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah.
Because it is, listen, everybody wants to work, and I say this all the time when a CEO comes in, and other people freak out because he wants to change his board or whatever. People want to work with people they trust.
That's right. Absolutely.
I mean, it is what it is. And, you can't change that because, especially when it comes with money.
That's right.
You have to work with people that you trust, that you know has integrity, that you know that's not going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
So you want to build that world, and he worked with you. Says a lot about you that he calls you the night after he won the election.
Yeah.
And says, "Hey, let's have coffee."
Yeah.
So you take off and go do that role.
Yeah. So I left Deloitte and joined my second stint in the controller's office in 2016 as deputy director. And then a year after that, got promoted as a deputy city controller and chief operating officer, and did that for another 4 years.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
But tell me this: if you could pick the best moment of that time and the worst moment of that time, what would it be?
Yeah. I would say that the best moment was when we were able to get pension reform passed through the state legislature. For the first 9 months of my tenure coming back to City Hall, I almost focused exclusively on the pension problem and figuring out what was the real number and what did we have to do from an operational standpoint, from a financial standpoint, to get this ballooning liability into a place where it could be manageable. And so my proudest moment was by far working on the pension reform and getting it to the finish line, getting it passed through the state legislature, was I would say my proudest moment. I would say the toughest, my toughest time, and it's maybe hard to choose a few, but anytime there's loss of firefighters or loss of police officers, that's always tough when you're working at City Hall. And unfortunately, that happened a few times while I was there. But I would say the moment where that really sticks out to me is when COVID happened, and just the amount of uncertainty that we all faced as government leaders and what to do.
There was no playbook.
There was absolutely no playbook, and it was unfolding in real time. And it was in the middle of our budget cycle, March, when everything kind of shut down, March 20th, or we knew when the rodeo shut down that it was real. But I just remember, sitting there with the controller, and we were looking at each other, going like, "What's the playbook for this?" In a weird twist of fate, the month before, we had actually released a study that was a stress test on city finances. That what would happen to city's finances if we had sort of this black swan type event. Nowhere on there was a global pandemic, but we were already thinking about, we were 10 years into a financial bull run. The economy was jamming along. And if you look historically, the economy is very cyclical. So we knew there was going to be some sort of thing that was going to happen that was going to cause the economy to turn back down. Of course, COVID happened. Wasn't on the list of possibilities, but we were suddenly faced with how do you stabilize the workforce, but also how do you keep the city operating? How do you ensure that bills get paid? What happens to the city's finances? So that was definitely a moment that stuck out. And then one that almost should have been at the front of my list was Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
When Hurricane Harvey happened, and just again the uncertainty the city faced, and
that was, something I think the city has never faced with any hurricane.
Yeah. Which
was the sad, but at the same time, from that, the city rallied together that the whole nation saw.
Yeah.
I mean, we knocked it out of the park.
That's right.
As far as people themselves going out and helping their neighbors.
Yeah. I mean, the resiliency of this city in particular has been showcased many times. But Hurricane Harvey was one of those moments where it was literally neighbors helping neighbors, friends helping friends, strangers helping strangers.
My neighbor was an ER doctor at the time when Harvey hit.
Yeah.
Our street was, thank God our homes were flooded, but our street was flooded.
Yeah.
Right? Probably up to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't stop raining, right? We were building the ark. And he needed to get to the hospital. And a neighbor, so him in communication with people in the hospital, they got him a little boat, like a raft, that he hopped on it, that took him to where they had a Jeep that took him to the hospital.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, I can't get there, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. It was like, we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And between all of us, right, privately and publicly, we're going to get you there.
That's right.
It was incredible.
Thousands of stories like that.
Thousands of stories like that. People had opened it up. We did it with the Med Church, as you know, but
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was opening their doors, figuring out a way to do that. By the way, do you know where you were March 7th, 7 days before the whole world shut down?
No. Do you know where I was?
I do know where you were.
Where was
you
I?
were at the Petra 10th anniversary party.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. That was almost the last.
That was it. That was the last supper before 2020 hit.
Commissioner Garcia was there.
Yeah.
My wife was there. Oh my gosh.
330 people from all over the world.
Wow.
Including China, Japan, Germany, India, celebrating the 10th anniversary of Petra.
It was a super spreader event.
It was a super spreader event. 7 days later, the world shuts down.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was incredible. Oddly enough, thank God, nobody there got sick.
Yeah, no.
We had a dance floor, live band. I mean, it was
a very fun evening.
We did not know it was the last for a while.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. 'Cause you would have given me 10 guesses in that. Maybe I would have gotten to that point because I still have the Petra glass. It looks very similar to this one.
Right, that's right. That's right.
Use periodically. So, wow, that's wild.
All right, so you leave City Hall. Right, comes to the point where you want to go. Why did you want? What made the decision of saying, okay, I want to go private now. I want to go to.
It was, in many ways, it was at the encouragement of my bosses. It was, I've been the beneficiary of having great mentors and people that have invested their time and energy into me, right? That's been kind of a persistent thing to my career because I think you can relate, most successful people can relate, is that you can't climb alone. You have to have an advocate, and you have to have a mentor, and you have to have a sponsor.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. And if you have the right mentors and if you have the right sponsors, they're going to give you really good advice. And the advice that both the controller and the deputy controller gave me was go to the private sector. Go experience another element of business that's going to broaden your horizons, because you can always come back into government. So that was really the impetus to go when I left the first time to go work for Deloitte. It's that, one, I knew I wanted to leverage getting the MBA. And it was a great time for me personally. You know, I was married but didn't have any kids. It was the world was wide open, if you will. It could have taken multiple routes. So it just so happened that I'd actually took a liking to valuation work when I was in business school. Just the idea of valuing how much a company is worth and the math it takes to get to that point was very intriguing to me. So I knew I wanted to do something in valuation. And back to relationships, it was somebody that I knew that had reached out to me at the firm, had lunch, got me in the pipeline.
And for someone that's young and was looking at the world to do something, it's great for your resume.
Absolutely.
Right? The public side, for sure. But also to have, you work for Deloitte on a resume. Right. It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's a great firm. It's absolutely a great firm.
Yeah. Okay, so that your mentors, as you're working for government, says, look, maybe you should go back out into the workforce, and you go out to Comcast.
Yeah. So the Comcast thing happened actually later.
Okay.
So let's
so
come back to
government.
City Hall.
Okay,
I left government, worked for Deloitte, come back into government in 2015. Do that as a deputy controller, do that for almost 5 years. And I actually wasn't looking for an opportunity. I wasn't necessarily looking to leave government, although, because of term limits, I knew that I had a finite period of time working in that office. But the good news of that is that you have a little bit of a runway to figure out what's next. So I was very much in the exploring what's next phase. And I get an email through LinkedIn from a recruiter at Comcast that said, hey, your name came up in a conversation. We'd love to talk to you. And Arnold, I ignored the email for a week because I'm not that smart about it.
No, I don't do that.
I think about it, and I just wasn't in that headspace. And I think about it, I go, you know what, Alex, don't be dumb. At least have the conversation. I'd never worked in telecommunications before. I'd never worked in that industry. So, on the surface, it was a stretch. But I thought, okay, shoot, if they reach out to me, let's at least entertain the conversation. So have the conversation with the recruiter. And it was actually somebody within the company that recommended that they speak to me. It's somebody that there was a former city team member that I'd left to work for Comcast, and they said, look, go talk to Alex. So have the conversation with the recruiter, and I was intrigued by the opportunity. Obviously, it's a big company, a Fortune 50 company, strong balance sheet. It was an intriguing opportunity, but I asked her, I go, why are you talking to me? I don't work in telecommunications. I've never worked in telecommunications. And she said, we're looking for the right person. We're looking for the right fit. So we'll teach you the business. We need somebody that obviously has the financial acumen, but we'll teach you the industry. We're just looking for the right fit. And I go, okay, I'll go. So count me in. So go through the process. I went through a very lengthy interview process, as you might imagine, for a role like that. And for the first 5 interviews, I asked the same question: Why are you talking to me? And I got the consistent answer: is that we're looking for the right person.
They're looking at culture more than anything.
That's exactly right. So the further along,
which is the right way to hire.
100%. Your biggest asset is your people and your customers, but it's all people oriented. So that very much resonated with me. I said, I'm going to go work for a company that values its people and values the cultural fit, then it's probably a place that I want to invest myself into. And it was a risk for them, obviously, to bring somebody from outside of the industry to come into that role. But it was a risk for me, too, to step into a role where I didn't necessarily know the industry. So the further along the process I got, the more excited I got about the opportunity, and the more comfortable I got about the cultural fit that I was stepping into.
And you took
it. It's been almost 2 years now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Comcast is it's a big company, right? It's not just Comcast, right?
Yeah.
Are they part of NBC?
NBC, Universal, Sky Cable in Europe. Yeah, they're all part of the Comcast corporation. Yeah, it's a massive company.
And just alone the Texas part is
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah, Texas part's fairly big too.
I mean, probably after New York or California.
Yeah, you got California, you got Florida. We've got some fairly big regions, but Texas is up there as well.
You happy?
Very happy. I mean, I couldn't imagine landing in a better spot. Working for a company that values its people, values its employees. We take our customers and the customer experience at the top of anything else.
Well, I think you said it right when you said it a minute ago. You said you got, people and customers, right? And it is really in that order.
Yeah.
You can't make customers happy if your people aren't happy.
Absolutely.
So oftentimes people get that confused as customers first, and they are extremely important because they pay the bill, right? But it can't be customers first if the people aren't first.
That's exactly.
The employees you got to have the right culture, the right employees that will take care of those customers.
100%.
It has to be in that order. You can't do it the other way.
It's not inverse. If you don't have motivated people that truly buy into,
And it's your name, it's their voice, it's their personality.
Yeah.
It's going to be you. It's what they're going to look at. I mean,
That's
I tell
exactly
when we talk at our office when the receptionist picks up the phone, I always say, remember that they can see you smile.
That's right.
Right.
It's palpable. When you get on the phone with somebody, they're smiling. You can tell their energy comes
you're
through.
know you're happy, or you're not. You're not going to be happy.
That's right.
It's very important to do that.
Yeah.
To wrap up, you've said a couple of times about how you worked, how you took opportunities. You went back to the city and said, look, you don't have to pay me, but can I still volunteer here, right? Somebody starting out new, young person coming out of high school, in college, that wants to be the next Alex, what advice do you give them?
Well, don't be the next Alex. Be the next you. Would be
Okay.
kind of the first
All right,
advice.
fair enough.
I would say that I don't think there's no recipe for success. But there's things that you can do to position
You
yourself to
think
be
work
successful.
ethics?
100%. Work ethic is near the top.
Yeah.
If not at the top. I think integrity's maybe above
Up
work
there,
ethic.
yeah.
It's got to be.
Right.
It's hard to rank them, but if you one just have a willingness to raise your hand, like just no matter what the assignment is,
Get your
no matter
hands
what,
dirty.
Get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid of the experience. Be humble. Be willing to ask questions. And really build relationships. I mean, I think work ethic, integrity, and relationships. If you've got a high degree of integrity, if you are not afraid to raise your hand and do the quote unquote dirty work and to take on stretch assignments, and if you're really purposeful and intentional about building relationships, you will be successful. Because this is not my theory, but I've adopted it. When you're starting off your career, you tend to get those promotional opportunities by being the go-to person or the hardest worker, right? You get those incremental, hey, he can get stuff done. I know that I can trust him. So you get that opportunity, you get a promotion, you get a raise. And then at some point, and I'll take a business school term, the marginal utility of that hard work begins to squeeze down some, right? Yeah. You don't get as many incremental opportunities because it's just expected that you're a performer. Well, then the next iteration of your career begins to emerge, and it's about relationships. It's about how do you motivate people. It's not even so much who you know, it's who knows you. Mm-hmm. Are people coming to you because they know that you are a connector? That's really the second phase that I think a lot of people may not always understand.
I agree with you.
It's about relationships. It's about connections and people. And that's where the psychology maybe comes into play.
Yeah.
Is that if you understand what motivates people and you understand the power of a connection, the power of a relationship,
but I think it's psychology for sure, but it's also common sense if you want to get ahead in life.
Yeah, that's right.
In anything, right? You can't piss off people.
That's right.
You have to make friends.
Yeah.
You have to know to get along, right? People need to know that you have integrity and that you work hard, because you may be nice, but if your work ethic is terrible, or there's questions about the integrity, the right opportunity may not come along.
That's right.
An opportunity may come along, but not the right one.
That's right.
Right? And I think one of the things that young people today struggle with is the speed of things, right?
Yeah.
It takes time to build a network. It takes time to get noticed. It takes time for people to know who you are, right? While at the same time you're making the network of the people you work. And through that whole time, for maybe low pay, you got to work your butt off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That little soup or stew of combination is what typically makes people successful.
Yeah, no, 100%, and it's not. I always sort of.
And you're that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
I mean, look, we worked together worked together, volunteered together at the Houston Chamber of Commerce, and you and I had a lot of conversations about budgets and finances one-on-one.
That's right.
And I trusted, everything you said. There is a undetermined value to that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's not even about finding success. If you do those things, success will find you.
Correct.
Like,
agreed.
And then
people will agree for the culture.
That's exactly right. And things will, I don't know, things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And you do have to have a little bit of luck involved. But I think if you put the positive energy into the world, good things will happen to you. Like, it's opportunity meets preparation, and luck gets involved in there. And if you're humble and hungry, things will happen.
Yeah, I think humble and hungry. And I think if you do the right thing, God opens opportunities too.
Yeah,
you're doing the right things.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You're doing the wrong things. If you do the wrong things,
yeah,
obviously, wrong things happen.
That's what I try to instill in my two beautiful kids.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to enjoy the food here in a minute. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now you get to eat, and we're going to talk to Dante and find out all about this restaurant.
Awesome.
Great.
It was awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating!